The sound division scheme sounds great, but I suppose, we both know, and I think it's important to outline to the House, that in reality, it provides funding for documentaries and one-off measures on local radio stations, rather than their day-to-day news and current affairs output, which is of a very high quality, whereas, of course, RTE has its news and current affairs output funded continuously, or had up to now, through the licence fee. The reason I ask about the licence fee is because, obviously, there are prosecutions taken, and it is an offence not to have a licence fee, and An Post can recover the cost of the prosecution in the event that they're successful. But there have been recent announcements by district court judges which would seem to suggest, at least in those instances, and if they're to continue, that An Post will not be able to recover the cost, the full cost at the very least, or maybe the majority of the cost of pursuing licence fees and prosecuting people who don't have them. And if that's to continue, well then clearly the licence fee will fall off, and people won't pay or a large cohort of people won't pay the licence fee. Clearly there are people who will pay just because it's the law. There are others who will realise that there are no consequences for not paying the licence fee, and in the interim, until a decision is made, RTE will just go further and further into debt. Yeah, I mean, public service broadcasting is indeed important, but how to define it is I suppose, the question. I mean, public service broadcasting is not about telling people what to think, and sometimes one might look at the output of our national broadcaster and see a deliberate attempt to tell people how to think on major matters as opposed to report what happens. A lot of media, not just broadcast media, has moved into the realm of telling people what's the most appropriate way to think. I mean, I recall as the COVID epidemic took hold in Ireland, or pandemic rather, Dee Forbes, the Director General, writing a letter to, writing an email to all members of the Oireachtas telling us that they would unify the people. I found it a little bit worrying, to be honest with you, because it was the kind of thing that you might expect from a state broadcaster on the far side of the Iron Curtain 30 years ago. I don't believe that the role of a broadcaster is to unify people behind a government position. The role of a broadcaster is to probe and examine, and I feel it failed to do that a lot of the time with regard to its coverage of the pandemic, which was bolstered, of course, by the fact that it was getting additional monies from the state in terms of vast sums of money from the HSE, a little bit less from the Department of Health, and indeed other government departments, to fund its coverage. It's very one-sided coverage. It's very coverage lacking any sort of probing of the appropriateness of the response at the time.
Minister, to conclude.
Yes, but I really do feel in an era of growing disinformation and polarisation in public discourse and society at large, the ongoing provision of quality reporting and content is vital. And it's important to draw a distinction between the actions of certain individuals and the many dedicated staff within RTE continue to work hard to bring us high quality news, entertainment, sport, music and drama, even in the midst of this unprecedented crisis in the organisation. And this is made possible largely through funding from TV licence payments. So I understand the anger there amongst the public, but I'd please ask everyone to think of the absolute value of public service broadcasting to society, to our democracy, and of course that paying the TV licence too is the law of the land.